Hey Professor, so my name is Mavi. Today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about actually a lot of things. So the first thing I think that Americans should know is that Latin America does not include Spain. And a big part of the reason I think that should be common knowledge is because the Spaniards took over Mexico and they did it in such an ugly way where they were raping, killing, torturing, poisoning with smallpox this lovely group of people who were there previously to them. They stole their land, they stole the people, they stole their language, and they implemented their own religion, and they implemented so many things. And honestly, in my heart, this causes me so much anger because the turmoil that is in the current United States is ridiculous, and it's because of how it started. So I know that's a little bit of a side tangent, but that's what makes me angry about knowing so much now. So I wish all Americans knew a little bit more. So we talked about this stuff in Who Are Chicanas? We talked about this in your lecture, The Ancestors of the People of America. We talked about this in the PBS conversation, How Smallpox Devastated the Aztecs. And we also talked about it in the Mexican-American War to Mexican Revolution. So many of these things needed to be talked about, and it's kind of hard to say what should we focus on right now. But these people were raped, murdered, killed, and tortured. That's why we should be considered a part of the Hispanic or Spaniard people as Latinas, as Chicanas, as Chicanos, as all these things. That's not what we should be calling ourselves or be called because our people were murdered for this name. So yes, we are Latinas and Latinos because we are from Latin America, and that's so important for me to say, is that Spain is a part of Europe, not Latin America. We also talk about how there were so many indigenous people previously to this idea of manifest destiny. I know that I'm skipping over a part where there was 300 years of colonization by Spain in Mexico, but just for time's sake, I wanted to jump straight into manifest destiny because that was the U.S. imposing their religion, imposing their beliefs, and imposing their ideas on a group of people who were so weakened and so distraught by years and years of being forced to do things that they couldn't not do, like they were slaves or enslaved, and they were forced to do so many things that they did not want to do. And they were killed, and by they I mean the Mayan, the Incan, and the Aztecs. And the Aztecs wasn't even their real name. It's for the indigenous people. The Aztecs was a name given by the Spaniards. I also do think that it's pretty, not cool, but good information to know that there's a third of the US that is current US that used to be Mexico. And a lot of it is in the southern parts of the map. But it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to focus on that. Then we can talk about the second thing that I think all Americans should know is that there were so many Hispanic and Chicano and Latino students who did take a stand for the Chicano movement to occur and for the Latinos and Chicanas and Chicanos to stand up to the US government. We can talk about the Zoot Suit riots, who was also young people, educated young people sometimes, or people who were just looking for a new life, people who were looking to be considered the Anglo people, for people looking for the citizenship, for people looking for their rights. That's why the Zoot Suits were created. They were created to be invited into a new community, not killed, not beaten, not anything. So the clarification I would like to make is that there were so many young Chicanos who really did take a stand that were so important. They went against all odds. They fought for things that they believed in, and that's so important. I'm just going to read off a few of the names so I'm not making them up. We can talk about Hector P. Garcia. We can talk about Margaria Garcia. We can talk about Joe Pio Martinez. We can talk about Sal Castro, some Jose Angel Gutierrez. We can talk about Willie Vasquez. We can talk about Ruben Salazar. And so many of these people are so important, and there's just not enough time to say what each one and every single one did. But we can tell based off of history and young people in history, of Chicanos in history, is that they're the most rewarded group of people within the military. We have them getting the first Medal of Honor. We have them getting awarded the Conventional Medal of Honor. We have them getting so many bravery awards, and why doesn't everyone know their names? Why are we sitting here talking about Christopher Columbus? You know what I mean? So part of this class is so angering to me as a Latina because I have such a strong identity with the Latina and Latino Chicano movement and all this kind of stuff because we wouldn't be here without them. without these people who really stood up. And I'm gonna get to the Chicanas part in a little bit and talk about them and how important they are to everything that we have access to. But a lot of that was in the articles. We see that you're not really Mexican, are you? We see this in the Sheri Moraga. We see this in contributions of Hispanic servicewomen in the World War II. We see this in the lecture of Modern History Chicana, the late 1800s to today. And we see this in the Prejudice and Pride, 1865 to 1980 of Latino Americas. And then we also see so many things come from the Genial, all Latino is Hispanic and Chicano and Latinos and Latinx and all this kind of stuff. We have an overarching idea of how the contributions of each and every single person of Chicano or Chicana descent really put in so much work into what America truly is now, and no one is being recognized for it. So yeah, the next part I'm gonna just jump straight in is the Hispanic experience. That's another big one that I used. The Hispanics in the military, World War I and World War II. Again, little to no recognition for these people who fought in the war for freedom, for just fighting in the war to get their citizenship when they were denied it afterwards. People who wanted the best for their families were sacrificing their lives for the America that treats them like they currently do. Um, there were so many powerful people, and I did not spend the time going over like Cesar Chavez or, the super common people because I wanted to give these people like Sal Castro, Willie Velasquez, Ruben Salazar their time and day of light, to be honest, to have their names spoken out loud. And then the third topic that I wanted to speak on was Chicano and Chicana women, who took a stand and again were super helpful to the Chicano or movements against or for the U.S. government. And we see this in so many of the different articles, to be honest, that it's hard to say which ones. But we can say the contributions of Hispanic servicewomen in World War II. So we have people like Carmen Bozak, we have people like Mary Castro, we have people like Carmen Salazar, and just so many powerful women. And like La Huerta, um, oh my gosh, we can't even give her the credit that she deserves. She's such a strong woman and like really just put everyone else's rights and everything before her own. She ignored so many like countless things that I just don't want to get them wrong. So I'm just going to go ahead and look at this paper real quick. So she stood up for the Chicano and Chicana movement. She stood up with Cesar Chavez and all these people because she was fighting for rights for her people. She didn't care what was happening to her in that time. She was ready to hear the movement. She was ready to stand up for the people. And she was just ready to be the voice, to be the image of the people. When honestly, Cesar Chavez got a little bit too much credit. He did a lot, it's true. But where is her name in all of the articles? Like, I really appreciate in your class that you did take the time to separate all the Chicanas and Latinas who were so amazing and you gave them their time in like these lectures because you know what? You did point out that there's just not enough coverage of them. And like I just want to make sure that I get all of these names right, but like so many powerful women are ignored in this time. And so we can talk about Ana Nieto Gomez, we can talk about Francisca Flores, we can talk about Alma Garcia, we can talk about so many different women. Like, let's see, just so many strong women in this time were dedicated to being nurses, to helping the community, to doing all of these things. And I'm really glad that in your class you took the time to separate them out and be like, hey, these women were so powerful and do not get enough credit because you're right. Another part that I wanted to mention was the fourth part of the project, and that is, do I think that ethnic studies should be accounted for? And my answer is absolutely. I think that Chicano studies, ethnic studies, black studies, Asian studies, all of these studies are so important to have in schools because it gives everyone a bigger, better idea of what America could be, what America should be, and how powerful the people are when they stand together and they protest and they do the right thing, they stand up for the right thing. And does everyone have to agree? Absolutely not. But should everyone be informed? I would say absolutely. And in these articles, like Pride, the Prejudice and Pride, And in the articles, like in the 8 week the future lecture, we talk about so much of how important Chicano study is for the next generation, for the next group of people, of Latinos who will make up at least 30% of the population, and America will be in 2050, 1 in 5 will be immigrants. By 2044, it's been corrected. So I think that you're right, 100%, that ethnic studies helps with marketing to all bigger group of people. It helps with avoiding misunderstandings, and it does make you an appealing candidate for working. I work as an EMT, so I save people in this time, and it's just so important that we just keep doing what's right. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, and being bilingual is super important, as well as being bicultural. Thank you so much for your time. I had a great time in your class.